Hi, Fashion Dolls. It is Transformation Tuesday, February 20th, and welcome back to an all new episode of Style by Stevie. It feels great to be back, Fashion Dolls, this week. I took a little break to focus on my mental health and wellness and well being, and I feel a little rejuvenated and a little bit better. Our very special guest today is a world champion martial arts expert, and I'm super excited to have him here in the dollhouse with me. He hails all the way from Croatia, and I'm super excited to welcome him in the dollhouse. And I hope you guys have been doing well throughout these past few weeks. It's been so much that has been going on. So without further ado, let's welcome the very incredible, talented, handsome Silvio Simic. Uh-oh. Let me try this.
Hello, can you hear me? You can see
I
me?
hear you. Yes,
Good, very
perfect.
well,
How are
very well.
you?
Greetings from across the pond.
Yes, welcome to the dollhouse. Happy Tuesday. How
Thank
are
you.
you doing?
It's been very, very good. It's very late here in the UK. Well, not very late, but it's 9 p.m. It's been a productive day. So very good.
So, how has 2024 been for you so far? We're now in a new month. We're in February, and it's about to be the end of February. So, how has the year been for you so far?
It's been a very, very fast start compared to most of the other years. Last year was probably the most successful year in my career in terms of the movies I've done, places I've traveled. So I said to myself, I would like to keep this momentum the following year because COVID was very quiet, and two subsequent years after COVID, it took some time to pick up to gain the momentum. So I was ever so happy last year when I landed myself lots of roles. So I said to myself, I'll keep this momentum this year. But generally, January, February are quiet. But on the 5th of January, I shot off to Thailand to a meditation retreat where I could not speak for 8 days, no communication, no phones. So it was a very nice way to start the year with a bit of peace and quiet. And then I went to US end of January for martial arts events and martial arts tournaments. So it's been a pretty hectic start already. So unlike most of my other years, but it's good. I've gained the momentum, so I intend to keep it up this year.
Now, you mentioned martial arts. You are a world champion in martial arts. You've been competitive for years, and you're also skilled in Taekwondo. But before we get to that, because you are just amazing, I read some of your resume and pieces of work, and you were born in Croatia. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, Croatia is a very, very small country in the Adriatic, in Mediterranean. It's only 4.5 million population. So
Wow.
I was born in Croatia. I showed a natural disposition to explosive sports. So my true journey really started off when I took up martial arts and belts changed color. I started to compete, and my great deal of passion and desire was translating on the competitive circuit when I was competing, because I would say, looking back now, I was quite obsessed with my early development in martial arts. That's all I had on my mind.
Now, your film career began in 2001. Tell us, what was the journey like for you getting into the film industry? Was this always a passion that you wanted to pursue?
It was a passion, and I would say martial arts generally go hand in hand really well with martial arts or action films because they translate really well on the screen. They're very spectacular and very impressive to watch. So for me, that was a natural transition from being very competitive, being on the martial arts circuit, to going into film. So I was working for Thames Valley University in 1991, and I got a phone call from a friend of mine who said they're looking for a stunt guy for this new film in Thailand, and it's starring Scott Adkins. So I made a phone call literally 3 or 4 weeks later. I gave her my job, gave her my career. I was off to Thailand for 3 months, and my stunt role became a leading role within the film itself. So they wrote me in the script itself. I fell in love with the industry. I decided this is what I wanted to do, pursue my career in show business. So when I returned back to UK, I started to expand my skills in other areas so I can increase my chances of landing myself future roles in the movies. So this is how the whole journey started off. But back then I was quite unaware how frequent these roles are. Initially, it was quite big. It's a very competitive industry, so you have to be prepared to get some good roles, but go through a period of time when you've got no work, where you're pulling your hairs. But I'll be honest with you, I was very lucky in that sense because I was doing martial arts side by side and I was running martial arts school. So when I wasn't on film set filming, I gave my energy and time and focus to my martial arts academy, which has been ever so helpful and handy.
So, how do you find the balance to work on your martial arts academy and then your successful acting career as well?
Well, when I set up my martial arts business, I managed to get myself surrounded by a great team of people who are giving me support. So nowadays, I don't really have to be there. I do show my presence if I'm around. I like to go to the school and teach because it's my passion. But I've developed it to a level where I have enough instructors and supporters and assistant instructors who can give me support and run the business when I'm not around. So it's working greatly. I'm ever so grateful for having it.
Now, you began in 2001. Your very first role was on an episode of Lex, which would have been in 1996. What was that experience like for you?
Actually, my first role was in Black Mask 2. That was filming in Black Mask 2 was filmed in Thailand. I was there for 3 months with Scott Atkins filming Black Mask 2, which was uh, um, an offshoot of Jet Li film. The first one was Jet Li. The second one had Andy On,
Yes.
Scott Atkins, and myself. So that was my first film role. I've done some TV adverts. I've done some commercials for other corporations before. But first feature role was Bangkok, Thailand, 2001 with Scott Atkins and Andy On. I
Okay.
was very new to it, and I'll be honest with you. When I realized the production coordinator did not utilize the skills of the martial arts guys, I volunteered and I said, "Why didn't you write my role in the film? Because at the moment, I've got very minimal input in what we do." So the stunt coordinator, Yun Woo Ping, who choreographed Matrix 1, 2, and 3, he choreographed Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. He's a very famous choreographer. He pulled me to the side and he said, "Show us what you can do. Maybe you can show some exciting action." So I remember I was under lots of pressure to impress them. So I pulled them to the side. I did some martial arts moves and they said, "Right, we're going to write your character in the script." And lucky, very early on in the film, they wrote my character in the script to play the right-hand man of Scott Atkins. So I was very lucky to land myself that role.
Now, we're going to fast forward a little bit here because you are well known also for the hit box office film Undisputed 2 Last Man Standing. Now, I'm looking here and I'm reviewing it over because it has Michael Jai White in it, who is also a martial arts icon as
Correct.
well. And this sold, I think, 11 million in box office. This was a top grossing film. What was it like to be a part of the Undisputed franchise?
When I was called up to do Undisputed 2, I was very good friends with Scott Atkins for many years now because we had shot 3 or 4 feature films together by that stage. First one was Black Mask 2 in Thailand. We lived very close together in London, so that kind of helped us to carry on training together and socializing. And he was the one who pulled me in on Undisputed 2, and he was renowned as Boyka for 2, 3, and 4. I was big fan of Undisputed franchise before I even met Scott because the first one was with Wesley Snipes, and it was very loosely based on Mike Tyson's story. He goes to prison as a boxer, and he's being challenged in the prison by all these contenders to fight them. So I fell in love with the first film when I saw it. So I remember when Scott phoned me up and said, "Mate, would you like to be in this second Undisputed 2?" I was over the moon because I was such a big fan of the first one with Wesley Snipes. So for me, it was a dream come true to join him on film set to work with him and Michael J. White.
Now I'm going to go through some comments here. King Thunderstar, let me see what he says. King Thunderstar says you were great as Leon in DOA. So, as going out as an actor, which roles do you get notarized for the most?
These are some of the big roles, big productions. Dead or Alive, I shot in China as well. I was there for 3 months. That was it with Eric Roberts. Another one was very.
Uh-oh, we lost Sylvia.
Decided to
There we
to make films from these video games. So I went off to China. I was there for 3 months shooting Dead or Alive based on a PlayStation game. But I remember distinctly they gave us a console to play in our room so we can make ourselves familiar with the characters from the film itself to make it as realistic as possible.
Okay. And you also worked in another iconic film as well, too, Transporter 3, which was also a top grossing box office film. What was that experience like?
Transporter 3 was really fun working with Jason Statham. I mean, he's such a renowned action actor now. Everyone knows him, and for me to get the opportunity to work with him, I found him very professional. Whereas most of us guys would rehearse for 7 days straight for the fight scene, he would merely just come to the film set, watch it for a while, and he'd pull it off. So I really rated him. He's very professional in that sense. He would pick things up extremely quickly. But this was a French production, Luc Besson Europa Corporation. It's the same company who did Unleashed. Unleashed shot the Transporter 3, which was based in it was based in Paris, in France. That's where we shot it. But it was another one of those great opportunities to work with some of the greats, and I use this opportunity every time to inspire me, to motivate me, to strive for higher, to strive for better. Because it's always nice meeting some of the greats. Always serves a good purpose to strive for better, to be motivated.
Now, Kabal's Kitchen is showing you so much love in the comments. He says he never gets older.
Oh, health and fitness, martial arts has always been very important parts of my life. So my nutrition, my diet, my rest, my exercise has been crucially important parts of my life. I always start my day with exercise, and I ensure I consume good food. So maybe it's one of the things which have helped me stay healthy or healthier.
Now, I'm going to go back to Transporter 3 for a minute. Transporter 3, for those of you who do not know, grossed over 112.9 million in box office. Transporter 2 grossed 89.1 million in box office. So this is one of the highest grossing films in the franchise in history. So to be a part of that, looking at your career, going through your accolades, what's running through your mind?
But when I hear these things, you've clearly done very good research on what I've done. When I look back to what I've done in my career, I kind of think, wow, have I done all these things? But I keep reminding myself it's very important to recreate myself and not to stay stagnant, but keep recreating myself and coming up with something new, because the competition is so tight. Anyone can replace you any day. So I always have to make sure I'm on top of it. I'm staying in touch with people. I'm networking a great deal as well. Things are a bit different now in terms of networking to the way they were 20 years ago, before the internet and before the ability to click your button and send your showreel to all across the world. But nevertheless, the concept is the same, and I'm always striving to rediscover myself and repackage myself in a different way, so I can prolong my longevity, my shelf life.
Now, another thing that people don't know about you or not aware about you is that you have a degree in business economics. So tell us a little bit about that.
Well, I would say this has been clearly influence and pressure from my family, namely from my father, who was very, very academic. And because he came from a poor background, he was very concerned that his kids would go through the same that he went through. Obviously, times have changed, times are different. So naturally, he wanted me to do my absolute best and go to university and get myself a degree, ensuring that I would have the safest and best possible life ahead of me. Unfortunately, I chose to not to pursue that career. Lucky enough, my father lived in a different country to I did, so I didn't follow his footsteps. I said, "Father, thank you very much for your influence, but I've got my own agenda and things I would like to do." And initially, was very worried, very scared, naturally, because he thought, "Oh, you're going to very, very risky industry," and I was. Don't take me wrong. At times, I really, really struggled, and at those times, I did not want to let my father know that I was struggling, because he would have said, "There you go, I told you." So I waited. Yeah, exactly. So I waited for the right time for me to say, "Dad, look, I've done really well for myself. I'm completely independent. I've done for myself." And luckily, he's very happy for me now and very proud. But there were times he was very concerned, very worried that I'm making the wrong decision. But because my father lived in a different country, I made decisions purely on my own accord.
Now, getting into this business, our parents first have their reservations like, okay, you got to have a backup plan. What is going to be a backup plan? And then when something fails or you don't go wrong, you don't want to tell your parents about it because it's just like they'll rub it in like I told you so. And it's just like you want to find your own way. So you definitely have paved and carved your own way because I'm going to go down the list of achievements that you've done here. Taekwondo, world gold medalist, British champion 14 times, European champion 4 times. I could go on. Achieving excellence and mastering the skill is so much. You have so many accolades. Looking back then, what would you go back in time and tell your younger self just getting into the business?
What would I tell myself? Um,
A younger version of you.
Probably just to be a bit more persuasive and aggressive when it comes to approaching people. I was very shy and thinking, no, I don't want to get rejected. I don't want. So maybe to approach people a lot more and not to be afraid of rejection, because rejection is part of life, like failure is, and we learn from each and every one rejection and failure. So I would say to myself, don't be afraid of that rejection. Just go and ask. The worst that can happen is they can say no. And I think lots of the times I curbed that question. I don't want to ask because I don't want to get rejection. Now, obviously, so many years later, I realize that failure and rejection is part of the process, and we have to get maybe 100 rejections before one of them says no. And I think that's why actors in particular go through that process an awful lot. You go for an audition and maybe audition 20, 30, 40, 50 times before you get your first job. So most people would quit um, very early stages. But I think coming from martial arts background, this is maybe a mindset that it's instilled into me, not to quit, not to give up, but keep moving forwards. And in a way, probably very stubborn. So maybe it's a good quality to have in order to succeed. Otherwise, you'd be pulling your hairs out from frustration.
So, what gives you the drive and power force to keep going?
It's a very good question, and probably a question I do get asked a lot. I would say, and I'm quoting Napoleon Hill, desire and passion is the starting point of all success. And I've got to say, I had this immense desire and passion, first of all, for martial arts. Growing up in the 70s, I was inspired by Bruce Lee. And
Um,
once upon a time, I was beaten up with my brother on the street. Well, my brother was beaten up, and I unfortunately witnessed it. And it wasn't a pleasant experience. And I said to myself, I want to take an action to ensure that if this happens again, I can take care of myself, or at least I can be in a standing position where I feel more confident to stand up to them or walk away. And that's why I started off. But immense desire and passion was something that drove me all the way through. And don't take me wrong, motivation sometimes runs out. But when motivation goes, I implement discipline. And discipline is something I've got very strong connection with through martial arts. So when motivation runs away, I tend to relate to discipline, and that's what keeps me going on day-to-day basis, even when I'm tired, exhausted, and don't believe in anything. Keeps me going because it's a habit.
Yes, and I'm going to read some of the comments here. Let me read some of the comments. Dom72 says that Silvio is a legend. He's worked so hard to be where he is, and that you are. Now, I've interviewed a lot of martial arts experts here on my show before. China McCoy, Troy Skinner, Spitfire Brown, and I'm pretty sure you remember
Of
him
course, yeah,
as Rain in
yeah,
Mortal
of course.
Kombat. So, and Robert Parham is another one as well too. I've interviewed him. So, have you taken any advice from any of these gentlemen that I just named? And do you guys feed off of each other's,
I I
all
take
being in the same
I
room?
take advice from people all the time, and I attended the largest martial arts event in Atlantic City, Georgia. Sorry, Atlantic City, New Jersey, in January, end of January. And I meet up with some of the biggest legends on the martial arts circuit, some of my idols. People have inspired me, motivated me. People I used to read books on. Of course, I take so much on board from them all the time, and that's the beauty of martial arts. Besides the physical aspect, it's got a very philosophical, spiritual side to it. So. With few words, you can say an awful lot. And I do take lots of advice from my peers and my friends and my mentors that have inspired me in the first place. It's very important, I think, for all of us, no matter what age we are, to have some sort of inspiration and some sort of guidance, some sort of mentor that's going to guide us and put us on the right path when we go through struggles or when we need a bit of advice.
Absolutely. King Thunder Star asked the question. He said, if you had a dream opponent, who would it be? Who would you choose to be your dream opponent in a film?
Dream opponent in a film. Wow, I've got quite a few guys that I've really aspired to be like. I think initially it was Steven Seagal, Jean-Claude Van Damme, Sylvester
Oh,
Stallone, who are aging a little bit now. But I think these guys would have been my main opponents to start off with because they inspired me to. These are the guys I looked up to, and these are the guys that have motivated me to strive to be better. But now Wesley Snipes is another one of them. Wesley Snipes, Jean-Claude Van Damme, Steven Seagal, Arnold Schwarzenegger, Sylvester Stallone. These are the old school guys who really truly inspired me to start off with. So I think I would like to honor my homage to them and maybe be up against them on the screen.
Polly Demand says, it's a pleasure to know Master Samak.
It's a pleasure to know you, Pali, as well. And you're very dedicated martial artist yourself, and it's an absolute pleasure to know you. And thank you for tuning in.
Now, another thing people don't know about you, because I did a lot of research for this interview here, you've done so much throughout your career. You put your martial arts, dynamic martial arts skills on for the Queen, for the royalty at the Dominion Theater. So tell us a little bit about that.
This was I did a TV show called Masters of Combat, which was like a game show. Ordinary contenders, martial arts guys would come up against the masters. There were 7 masters in the circuit, so I played the character on the show for BBC. And after we finished this BBC show, I got invited to do a Royal Variety performance, which is an annual performance for the royal family in a theatre. So they needed an opening entry show for it. So they said, could you do it? I was like, well, I'd love to do. It would just be such an honor, something to put on my resume, to be performing in front of Her Majesty the Queen. And this was in, I think, 1991, Dominion Theatre. I performed a show alongside a team of us who rehearsed for a few weeks to get the show done. But I remember distinctly during my rehearsals, I remember I was sitting in the audience, nobody there, and Jennifer Lopez was performing, rehearsing in front of me. There was no one else around. And I was in disbelief. It was like Jennifer Lopez is performing right in front of me, like literally 2 meters. I remember the event very distinctly.
Now, another thing that I admire about you and that I love about you is your humanity. You have made a lot of public appearances, raising money for charities such as UNICEF and fighting for cancer. How important is giving back to you? Because I know I'm the same way as well too. I love to give back. I love to do research. I love to help people and encourage people. So how important is this to you?
I would say it's extremely important because part of martial arts code of conduct is to contribute to the mutual welfare of our environment. So giving back is fundamentally very important. And something one of my dear friends said once in one of his speeches in Germany, he said, in life, we're ultimately trying to find who we are ourselves. But the only way we find ourselves is when we lose ourselves in the service of others. And the act of giving makes you realize that. And through martial arts, especially through teaching, that's where you realize when you start giving, you start realizing how important it is and how much you get back in return as a result.
Absolutely, 100%. I can't keep Silvio, ladies and gentlemen. He is in a time crunch. It is already 4:24. We are going to do something real quick, and I do this with a lot of my guests. And this is the way to break the ice, because I'm pretty sure doing interviews can be nerve-wracking. I've done interviews before as well, too, on other platforms, and I know it can be nerve-wracking. So we are going to do something called Turn the Tables, and then we're going to do the Rapid Five. But you have to give us 5 things you can't live without. It can be your favorite drink. It can be your favorite food. It can be your favorite martial arts actor. Uh, and then turn the tables is where my guests get to ask me questions, whether it's on hair, makeup, fashion, whatever they want to know. Personality, whatever people want to know about me for the new viewers, you get to know through Silvio's questions.
Sure.
So I'm going to pass it on down to him. And you have to tell me 5 things that you can't live without before we go to turn the
Well,
table.
excuse me if I say some of the obvious ones, but food. I love my food and protein. Obviously, I take care of my body, so I need to ensure I get the right nutrition. So some of the foods and drink, music, maybe a place to train, and also relax, and maybe some of my friends keep me company.
Okay. Friends, family. That's key to me too. All right, fashion dolls. It is time to turn those tables. All right. So I'm going to pass it on down to Silvio, and he can ask me as many questions as he wants. And this is for the new viewers. You get to know a little bit about me, the girl with the purple hair.
I,
So it
I
might not be
love your
perfect
hair.
tomorrow. Thank
Okay,
you.
please tell me about some of your scary experiences you've had in life. Scariest
Ooh,
experiences.
some of the most scariest experiences I've ever had in my life. Ugh, some of the most scariest experience. I remember when I was younger, my friend's dog had, well, that's one. It's kind of funny and scary at the same time. My friend's dog just had puppies. And so our friend lived right down the road from us. And I went to go see him, and I didn't see the mama's dog out of nowhere. She came charging at me from behind the car. and I couldn't do anything because I know mothers are very protective over their children, just like our moms are protective over us. And so people were sitting on the porch. It was so embarrassing. I didn't cry or nothing. I just went home in shame. So the mama dog came charging after me, and I literally had to climb and hop across the fence. The fence was locked, and I, got in, and I said, "Uh oh, this might escape. Let me go ahead and hop across the fence." I was so embarrassed. So that's one scary moment. Other than that, I haven't really had any scary experiences in life,
That's a
as you know.
good
But
thing.
I
That's
do
a good
know,
thing.
I do know that I am. You guys know that I am afraid of snakes. That is one of my biggest fears. I am
Oh
afraid of
wow.
snakes and spiders and frogs. Those are some of my fears.
So now
So
I would like to ask you a question that you asked me. This is reversal of the table. So I'm asking you
yes,
the same question. If you could go back in time, what would you say to your younger self? What advice would you give yourself?
I, I would tell the younger version of myself to hang in there. Be confident, be bold, be who you are. Never have to hide it because all my life, and for us as people, we've been told we need to turn down our passion, we need to tone it down. No. And I tell people this all the time here on my platform, live life through fire, live life vicariously. If martial arts is something that you love to do, go for it. It's never too late to follow your passions and the pursuit of your dreams. And that would be advice that I would give to my younger teenage self. I'm 30 now, so
I
the
like that one.
things that I would think about when I'm in my teen years will be completely different now that I'm in my adult years. So I would look back and say, just kind of shake my head like, oh, wow, I can't believe you did this in this time. But now that I'm in my adult years, I'm an aunt, I'm a daughter, I'm a sister. I mean, you see life differently through
Of
all of
course you
these
do.
things.
Of course you do. But if you had a superpower, what superpower would it be?
It would be to read what is on people's minds. Like I know people, we in the world, we go through so much, and sometimes we don't want to talk about things, but it would be to just kind of read people's minds. I know psychic is a thing that's if you say psychic, but I don't know what it is. I just pick up off of body language, chemistry, or if I see someone is sad or down, and I think that's a trait that I inherited from my mom, because my mom's the same way. She's very protective over us. She knows that something is off. Mothers know, y'all. Parents know everything. Moms especially, they
Sure.
know it. So if they know that you're sad, they know that you're mad, you're down, or whatever, they ask what's wrong, and it's like, no,
Of
they're gonna
course.
get it out of you one way or another.
Right, right,
So
right. Very cool. Was that my last question or?
as many as you want. You
Okay.
still got a little bit of time. It's
Where would you
4:30
like
now.
to be in 5 or 10 years time from now?
Where would I like to be in 5 or 10 years? I'm manifesting the Met Gala, the biggest fashion event in the world, Paris Fashion Week. Um, I could see myself designing because I've dabbled in fashion illustration a little bit. So I could see myself actually sewing the clothes because I know it takes a lot of work and craftsmanship to put
Yeah.
gowns and designers together. Matrix Parabellum says mine would be immortality if you could go back and live. Right.
I hope it will be a healthy immortality because there's no point of living 100 years if you're not well, if you're unwell.
Right. And that's why I tell people live life through fire, live life vicariously, and never let anybody tell you that you're too old or to go after your passions. And my thing is, if this is something that you desire to do, keep doing it. I've always wanted to do fashion. I've always wanted to do makeup. I've always wanted to do hair. And I took beauty school for that. So it's a passion of mine. And I'm still going 30 years in at 30 years old doing hair. My mom, well, I must say I'm my mom's personal
Oh,
hairstylist now.
oh,
She
very good.
does, yes, for me, and I have to do her nails and everything. So yes, I
I,
love what I do, and I wouldn't
I
trade it for the world.
think fundamentally this is one point we're all pointing towards and saying is follow your passions and your desires because it's like Winston Churchill said, when you find a job that you really enjoy and thoroughly love, you will never do a day's work in your life because it won't feel like work. You're going to enjoy doing it and you'll succeed.
Absolutely, and I know that you are really, really passionate about martial arts. That's why I admire you, and I reached out to you to be on my show, and I've watched some of your clips, and I'm just like enamored. Like,
Well, thank you. And you've clearly done an
wow,
abundance of research on my stuff, so I'm ever so chuffed. Thank you.
you are so welcome. All right, fashion dolls. So, Sylvia, before we let you go, are there any encouraging words that you would like to give to your supporters? Because you have a huge fan base, including myself. I'm such a fan of your work, and I'm honored to
Thank
have
you.
chat
Thank you.
with
I
you
appreciate
today.
it. I would like to echo maybe what we've both said in this interview. Um, Dream your life and live your dream. So whatever you envisage and whatever visions you have inside, with great deal of passion and desire, because you will come across obstacles and challenges. And the only thing which will overcome those obstacles and challenges is passion and desire, the love that you have for it. Uh, at times it will get very difficult. It will get very hard. You're going to doubt yourself. You're going to doubt others. The only thing that will keep you going is passion. So make sure you gather that passion and go forth with it.
Absolutely. And to add on to what Silvio just said, today's final thought comes from actress Alfre Woodard. She says the way we think of ourselves has everything to do with how the world sees us and how we see ourselves successfully acknowledged by the world. So remember, what you put out in the universe, full circle, is going to come back to you full circle in return. Like when I mentioned about Silvio giving back to charity, to UNICEF and all of these foundations, humanity, what you put out in the universe is what you're going to get back in return. And trust me, if you keep blessing people, more and more blessings are going to keep coming to you. So I know the responses that I've been getting for this platform from people are, you're such a bright light that is needed. You do it with such confidence. You're like a gentle soul. Those are some of the DMs that I've gotten from people. And I'm just like, thank you. I appreciate it that I have a great effect on people, and I want to continue to. So it's all about putting out great energy. And Matrix Parabellum says, had a great time with both of you. It was nice to get to know you a little bit better.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Pleasure. Thank you.
So, where can people follow you and check out your work? Because, like I said in the beginning of the interview, you have a catalog of work that people can go and check out.
Well, I've got a website, but the best places to follow me is Instagram and Facebook, which I have two accounts, which is regularly updated with all my latest updates and news and up and coming projects. So I would say Instagram and Facebook. They're very current.
And joining me tomorrow, Fashion Dolls, we have Fernando Mario, who's another amazing actor. So you guys can check him out tomorrow as well too. And I'm so honored to be sitting here with martial arts icon,
Thank you.
award-winning martial arts
Thank you.
icon, Silvio Samek. It's such an honor. And I told you we were going to have a good
Oh,
time. You was like, did we get it
did
wrong?
for sure.
But we got it, Fashion Dolls. And this interview will be uploaded on Style by Stevie Daytime. If you have not, please head on over and subscribe so that you can check out all of my interviews from the past few weeks and catch up so you'll be up to date now. And we will see you guys tomorrow at 4 p.m. Eastern.
Thank you.
Silvio, such an honor.
Thank you. Have a nice day. Thank you. Bye bye.
You too. Take care.